Welcome to the Compressor Guru. It's a very special day, not because of the pump we're working on, but this is the camera wife's birthday. Happens to be a Sunday, and I've got her at the garage, and we're going to tear down a 234 two-stage Ingersoll pump today. I'm suspecting this is a total pump, but we're going to film it just in case there's enough good parts and we can rebuild it. This is my personal pump. I bought a motor off of a customer of mine, and he threw the compressor in. I told him it might be scrap iron, but I'd let him know, and if we ever do fix this and sell it, he gets a piece of it. But this is actually a little bit of a tough compressor to sell because it's a higher quality and it's less than 5 horsepower, and that's a pretty thin market. You guys go, but I want a 2 horsepower air compressor. I have enough power to run it. Well, you don't want to spend the money on what this machine is going to be worth by the time we're done. But if I find a customer that needs a 234, we'll rebuild this. This might be rebuildable. I already priced the kit, and if it doesn't need anything major, we will be rebuilding. So, I already drained the oil out. I put some PV blaster on the lines. Once again, before I told you that if you're going to be taking lines off, take a picture of it. If you don't know where the lines go, just simply take a picture of it. Camera wife, would you come here? I don't know what somebody did here, but they put a T in here. This is a breather. This line breathes the crankcase up to the intake on the suction side of the low pressure. But for some reason they put a T in and they put another little line there, and I don't know what they were trying to do with it. So if any of you have the answer to why they did that, let me know. You can educate me. I appreciate it. So have no idea why somebody put that in there for an extra. Anyway, this was loose, but I took and I put some PV blaster on the shaft. I'm not going to get excited about tearing the wheel off this till we find out how everything else is on it. But what we are going to do is we are going to pop the heads off, and if we see anything obvious. By the way, before you ever tear down a compressor, it's always interesting to turn it over. Hey, there's no compression there. That's really free. Whoop! That's why I'm thinking this might be a exercise in futility. So we're going to take and pop the heads off. Remember before, I've told you it's okay to tear them apart. By the way, this came in like this. He's loose head bolt. It's always okay to tear certain things apart with an impact, but we never put together with an impact. This is the low pressure side. This is the old school air filter, and it was broken off, and that's the result.
Oh, that's where it was broken off from.
Looks like somebody put a piece of plastic over it, cap maybe. And looks like it was smoking. What this is the filter media.
Okay, hold your hands still.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're moving around so fast nobody can see.
Point here. This is interesting. What this is the filter media from that old school filter. They were kind of a foam that's stuffed in there and were held in with a screen. And that filter media ended up all the way in the intake area.
Kind of looks like snuff.
I was wondering what it was when I first grabbed it. I'm glad it was not snuff. Wow. There we go. The valves actually don't look bad. if this machine does scrap out, we will rebuild this and have this ready so that we can go swap valve plates on a 234 if that would ever happen to come up. Crank the Come here. Come here. Look at that piston move. Whee! Whee! Whee!
Is it moving?
No, it's not moving. I'm turning. No, it's not moving. Okay, let's pop the other side off real quick because I think both connecting rods are broke. And there's our valve plate. This machine was probably pumping right to the minute it...
You want to turn those toward me so we can
sorry.
see what we have there? Okay.
My guess is this machine was pumping and pumping well. Right to the minute it died. And that little high pressure piston is not moving either. It is fairly obvious both connecting rods have broken. Get a wrench. I'm going to take the intercooler off and these couple lines. This is an unloader line. This is the centrifugal unloader. We've had those a couple different times. Okay. We've shown you a couple different times how important it is to hold on so we don't break the fitting. This is a fitting, and the next one in is your unloader valve. If that were any tighter, I'd have had to get a fitting wrench. By the way, we just sold several sets of fitting wrenches to my boss, my friend in CMA, and Gear Wrench has a standard and a metric set of of flare nut wrenches. I don't know the model number offhand, but the price compared to your SK, your Proto, and some of your other lifetime warranty wrenches was about $100 for the two. He took both sets, and I want to say they were $175, somewhere in that neighborhood. He took both sets, the standard and the metric, and net below the right and net below the SK, it was more than $100 cheaper to go gear wrench. So if you have any interest in buying those gear wrench sets off of Steiner's Compressor and Supply, the Compressor Guru, contact me through the website and we'll take care of you. We can ship anywhere in the lower 48. And I just shout out to Terry at Mr. 1 Hour Cleaner. I don't think that's the right name of his business, but shout out to Terry. Terry ordered some Quincy parts from me. He's my very first international shipment. And so we're not just a U.S. company anymore, we're international.
You're what?
International. When I said that to Terry, he laughed too. So,
What's the temperature where you're working, Guru?
it's a little brisk.
Because if things go as I think they will, a lot of these where I had to come in on your face, you can see your breath in the air.
Well, the truth of the matter is I only turn the heat on in the shop when we have money making work out here. And
We're not making any money doing
we're not
this,
making
so
any money, but I turned the heat on and I ran out of fuel before you got here. So
oh wow.
this will be a short job, and We're just looking for whether we're going to be filming more and whether this is going to be worth fixing. So, I'm going to take this cooler off real quick while we're right here. You know, it helps if you get the right size wrench. This machine has similarities to other rebuild series we did. The valves are very similar to the 242 that we recently rebuilt, and the lower end is similar to the 242 and the 2545 that was our first rebuild series.
I knew you were going to say 2545.
I knew you knew that because we said it so many times during the rebuild it wasn't funny. Like there's no holes in it.
It's all bent up though.
Yeah, we'll straighten that because if those fins are straight, it cools better.
Oh.
So, we're going to knock these cylinders off next. We know the connecting rods are broke, so we're just going to knock them off.
Look at how pretty the inside of that drawer is. Oh. There's all those little sockets in their holders. They all have little homes.
I have a new customer, Patrick, that just bought some of those Vim socket rails, and he's setting up his new toolbox. We'll be a little better on the trigger now, Val.
Yeah, I started to hide behind the tow motor here.
And the nice thing about those Vim socket rails is you can add, oh, this is bad.
Oh, I see the piece coming out of there.
I expected that to be broke right there or twisted and busted off. I expected this to be broken either here or broken two places and the connecting rod to be mangled and that rod's bent. But what we have is the crankshaft evidently let the governor weights evidently broke or fell off and let the connecting rods, at least that connecting rod.
Yeah, it's hard to see in there because we didn't take this end off normally.
We'll go deeper.
You should have shown the camera wipe.
That rod isn't just bent, it's twisted.
Huh. Interesting.
And it took a lot of running for this to run that off the side.
So it came off of that peg that's in there.
That peg is the crankshaft journal that's the rod journal on the crankshaft.
So when we spin this guy, it should go around like
Yep.
that. And nothing was going around as far as these little pistons.
Were not going up and down because
Yeah.
the rods had worked off of the...
Boy, audience, I apologize. You must be dizzy because I'm dizzy just trying to look at all this stuff
Well,
here.
You're at the wrong side, babe.
Why?
Because I'm working over here.
Aren't you going to take that wheel off?
No. I may not ever take that wheel off.
Boy.
Self in trouble. So am I taking you out for birthday
You are
dinner?
after this.
Okay.
Most women would have expected roses and all kinds of awesome things.
Now, I did something a little dangerous there.
Yeah.
I didn't keep my hand on it, and that's a long way from the floor. There we go. Okay,
Here I come.
here's what happened.
Take your hand out of there. Oh, okay. Wait.
This-
Hold still.
This is the centrifugal governor weights that unload the machine. And they're bolted onto the end of the crankshaft right there. And the bolts came out. You'll remember in other videos.
Oh, yeah. We tied them with wire.
We used wire tie to tie them on. And I don't know, well, we've had these break before and stay on and not let the rods off. I'm guessing the bolts worked out. Let's,
Can I just point down in there before you keep taking stuff
Sure.
out?
Sure. Can you reach up there and reach yet?
No.
I set this at Bud height, or the Guru height.
Yeah, so I'm above my head here trying to see. But there's where it came off. And there is just all kinds of stuff in there. Broken stuff.
Okay.
Okay, without getting in the weeds right now, this will need an overhaul gasket kit and it will need governor weights. We have,
Could you not shake your governor weights so quick?
You like
If
the
you
governor
want them
weights?
to see what they are, then you have to, okay, now what are they supposed to actually look like?
when they're together, they're opposite each other.
Oh, so the wire's still on there.
Yeah, well, that's not the wire for the bolts.
Oh, okay.
That's the wire that holds these together. But when this spins, this is spring loaded, and the weights come out, it relieves pressure on the pin, and the valve that is in the center of this. When these spin, these fly out, and the plate moves in closer to the crankshaft. When it does that, and this is busted because of this, there's a pin that's out through here that operates this valve. This is like a tire valve on a car. So when those weights are spinning, the pin is allowed to move that way, and this valve closes and allows the machine to pump. When the machine runs too slow or stops, the weights go in because they're spring loaded. That pin then is pushed in there, opens this valve, and it unloads air. You'll feel it right here, and it'll go into the crankcase. And those governor weights, I don't think they broke initially. I think we had bolts come out. I'm going to look for the bolts. That's the spring that makes the governor weights go in. There's the rod bearing. And there's the bolt, and it does have a little bit of a wire in it. But obviously that bolt will need replaced if we rebuild. And oh, this is the pin that goes into that valve. And
I can zoom on that if you hold it still for a minute.
It's got a low O-ring on there.
Okay.
And I'm actually surprised that pin's not broken. It looks like it's a little bit bent.
All right.
But I do believe on the other one. do believe this is rebuildable. It would take the total overhaul kit, the major damage is the governor weight assembly, and I do have that available in aftermarket, and we are getting ready to put an online catalog on with all of our aftermarket Ingersoll parts. So stay tuned for that. We usually put all these compressors up in series that we do them back to back to back as we go through them. But this is just going to be kind of a standalone teardown. The wheel comes off, the bearings, the crankshaft comes out just the way the other Ingersolls we've rebuilt in this channel, the 242 and the 2475. That's all the very same work, it's just a smaller unit. But for right now, we're done for the day. I'm going to see what it's going to take to, what the parts are going to cost, and then we're going to look for a customer and see if somebody wants this machine rebuilt. Let's take a quick look before we turn the camera off. Let's take a quick look in the cylinders. And this was in a trailer. So,
Hold it still.
oh, I'm so sorry. This was stored in a trailer, and there was no water getting on it. He has another.
Doesn't look too bad.
No, it doesn't. No. We have a few very minor lines, I think, with, I'm going to turn that around.
Okay.
I think with a little bit of, oh, we can even see some old hash marks. A little bit of machine work, we can put that right back on.
Okay.
This is promising. Let's get the high pressure side. Take it. Discharge tube off. Looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. Connecting rod got banged around real hard. I think we would be replacing the wrist pin in both the high and the low pressure, because, well, the low pressure is not as bad. I don't see anything terrible in there. Oh, thanks for the extra vote of confidence on the diagnosis.
Well,
This is a very simple rebuild. Quite frankly, if the customer, got to think about this. This is actually rebuildable without changing those main bearings. And so I got to price some parts out. I will include that in the end of the video. I'll put links in the video to the 242 and the 2475, because many of the operations in doing a small pump like this were repeated in those larger pumps with little differences, but they're similar enough that if you're any kind of wrench, you can figure this out. I'm going to price parts out, and I'll let you know in the end of the video what the verdict is, whether this is rebuildable or not. So we're here looking at the numbers now. The kit that contains the gaskets, the main seal, the new connecting rods, the rings, the bearings, the wrist pins, the new valve plate assemblies. Let me just mention that the valves for this old of a machine are not available. They have a new plate assembly that you replace the entire high pressure valve plate so that it's rebuildable in the future. That entire kit's $258. And of course, we're going to put oil on it before it leaves. We use AMSOIL. It'll be a 20-weight AMSOIL, a synthetic oil. That old filter assembly that is cast iron and doesn't filter a whole lot. And we actually found pieces of the filter in the intake side. New filter assembly, 20 bucks. The crankshaft. We didn't show this on camera, but we checked the journal where the rod bearing slides over, and it's in terrible shape. The crankshaft needs replaced. The counterweight and the end cap assembly that was broke that caused all our problem. It's $37. I was actually surprised I found an aftermarket one that cheap. Labor to do this is 360 bucks, and the 50 bucks to the guy that gave us the machine to hopefully save. Bottom line's $875. This machine is worth $875, but the problem is we're at that 1.5 to 3 horsepower market, and it's a very few people that are going to spend that kind of money to get a quality 1.5 horsepower pump, when for that money they can go buy either a new machine, a new complete machine that may not last them as long, or they can put $875 towards a 5 horsepower and be halfway there to a 5 horsepower. So our solution to this is eBay. And what we've done is we've separated out the good parts, which is a couple cylinders, a couple pistons, one valve plate, and they will go on eBay. And when they sell, I'll split with the guy that gave me the pump, and everything else has already been toted out to the scrap pile, scrap iron. This is the economics of looking at whether these machines repair or not. This one is not worth rebuilding. And thank you very much. This is the Compressor Guru. Like, subscribe, the bells and whistles. All those things help us grow and help educate you more to be doing things that you don't have to hire guys like me for. Have a great day. God bless.